So before I start this video, uh, warning, this is my opinion, so hold of your horses. Your discretion is advised. Hi, been a long time, but I didn't really have any topics that I really wanted to talk about. But yeah, today we're talking about Golden Age supervillains and stuff. A main problem that I have, uh, I think this picture encapsulates what I mean. Sargon the Sorcerer is a Golden Age villain. He's never been. He looks funny, out of modern side. But then you have shit like this with Gemini Sargent, the daughter of the original Sargon the Sorcerer from that was introduced in the New 52. And yeah, I'm looking at this image and it really pisses me off. You know, I like when comics go dark sometimes, but there's this ongoing bastardization on uh, trying to make old villains more legit by doing fucked up stuff, and this just pisses me off. You don't you don't necessarily need to increase the darkness. You didn't really need gore or anything to make a villain more legit. You just need a good fucking writer. And this ongoing trend of either forgetting that villains exist or making them more dark and drawing gruesome panels. I don't get it. And I think people who do that kind of forget the roots. I do tons of research on DC and New Earth and Prime Earth and post-crisis Earth and pre-crisis Earth, so I know the fuck I'm talking about. And that's one of that's kind of shit, about the whole New 52. The New 52 got better by the end, but what they tried to do was introducing new stuff and making comics too dark and always having kind of the same digital comic effect. And for me, I would love some more classical stories again, where it isn't world ending or every week, the world's ending or the villain is doing too fucked up shit. There are so many great villains that you could use, but it turns out it's always the same, because they keep selling. Um, and I remember this new iteration of Sargon the Sorcerer belongs to the Cult of the Cold Flame, which was a really kind of silly group back in the 90s. They had a Cobalt Blue, the Flash's twin brother, as a member. And for me personally, I like DC, but even now with stuff like the Dark Multiverse, I can't really enjoy this shit. For me, for me personally, uh, the Dark Multiverse wasn't that much interesting, and I think the art was even was making for me the experience even worse, because in a fucked up sense, really beautiful how gruesome the comic is drawn, but it really speaks for DC to fuck everything up by making it much darker. And DC wasn't always that dark, that came somewhere in a modern age, in the 90s where everything went extreme and really never has recovered from that period, partially because uh, the people at DC don't really want to or can't do. And I love DC. I love the multiple characters and the legacy characters, and that there's so much you can do in terms of legacy characters, because it's in a weird sense it's more streamlined than with Marvel. And I love Marvel comics too, but Marvel suffers from a different issue that makes it for me difficult to enjoy the characters. And I think it's becoming even more difficult now to really not going back to how comics were, but to write good stories, because so much of the television shows are so much what you see on television is transfer transferred to the comics. And for me personally, I would just love seeing some Gold Age villains taken actually serious by not making them necessarily darker, but uh, playing on their strengths. For example, Sargon the Sorcerer. I mean, he's a fucking sorcerer, so you can do a lot with his wits and magic or stuff like that. Or the Ultra Humanite, complete fuck up in the design department for me. I think the White Gorilla was so much better than what we got recently. Um, and it would be also good if they keep the Watchmen stuff out. Watchmen doesn't really fit into the DC universe. During its creation process, Watchmen was absolutely planned to be a part of the main DC universe, but but the result really doesn't fit. And I like Doctor Manhattan or Rorschach and stuff like that, but they really should be back in their own self-contained uh, universe. There's some, like I said, in DC there's so many underused characters, and when I personally look and do my research, I look for the smaller characters, because there lies the real potential to do something. And gosh, I'm talking for 9 minutes, so it's really difficult for me to enjoy comics or movies nowadays. We get an overabundance of Joker stories, and people complain about that, and I totally get why. But the point is, Joker is always a selling point, and when you consider that Joker was out of the comics for such a long period, like what, 20 years, I think, and that was great, Um, I'm not necessarily saying that he needs a break that long, but he definitely needs a break. I mean, when you look at modern DC comics involving Batman, you mostly have Joker as the villain of the story, or sometimes the Riddler, while other characters appear other villains appear on the pages, but they don't do jack shit. They don't even get dialogue. I think for now, DC should go back on smaller storylines and crossover events, and these big events, they used to be so special, and then part of them, and part of these mega events, you had little stories, and that's basically non-existent today. Today you get main event, main event, main event, main event, and it's just too much. Too much. There is so much uncovered potential for using old school characters and acknowledging them. What I would like to see as DC even more streamlining their history, so we have an exact version of JSA, Jail A, and the villains that we are facing in those times, and then you can even have characters connected to there. Particularly when you go back to post-crisis Earth, there are many baby characters and stuff like that, or children that they didn't use, and it's a damn shame that they didn't do anything with the characters. Lucy Lane when she became Superwoman, during the New Krypton storyline, she had a kid. Catwoman had a kid. They didn't do jack shit with that. They killed off Leon Harper, which is still a big grinding point for me. And they had the audacity to not bring this character back. Now, the complete fuckery over other characters, for example, Wet. I mean, both the Mia Dearton version and the Sissy King Hawk version from Earth 16, which both had potential, to be good characters, and they didn't do anything with that. And for me, growing up with mostly post-crisis Earth, it's a damn shame that even now in DC Rebirth they haven't gone back to using some of those characters. I mean, the New 52 shouldn't be forgotten in its entirety, because there were good stuff. But they should more focus on what came before the New 52, and less incorporate what's on television. In my opinion, the television shows, no matter how good they are, in my opinion, they are created so more people get in touch with those characters and then go into the comics and read it. even now, it's so easy to read comics online and find what you're looking for. So I don't see the continuity problem that much as somebody who's working actually in DC Comics. But for me, as a fan, I have less trouble seeing that. There are also great villains that haven't been used. For example, Empirix. We haven't seen that guy in a long time. Or Mongol. It's mostly just Brainiac, Darkseid, Joker. And even Darkseid isn't a character that you should use that often. And then we get an amazing character like Darkseid's daughter, Grail. But they don't do jack shit with her. Again, why do you introduce a character and then don't really do anything with him? But I'm guessing that's it for today.
Well, the books are full of words that you read, and the show gets me paid.